Hello friends, we are to recommence our poetry. The one we are going to look at now will be poetry 170. The title is Words Create the World. Follow the example and create your own world. Elucidated by the story, it was a fiery fight in the home. Missiles in the form of pistols and mortars were in free use. Stones followed. Knives were brandished. And as to the vituperation, it is better not to be in print. This was only a fight between the husband and wife. But from afar, one would have thought it was a tribal war or a violent political scene. A crowd gathered by the pair. The man had stripped the woman naked in the compound, full of people, and which was by the roadside. The woman too had shredded the man's boxer shorts, exposing his genitals to the world. None of them seemed to care. They had been more interested in destroying each other, both physically and verbally, to please the ever-increasing crowd. The co-tenants had tried in vain to put an end to the fight. A pistol swung by the woman had knocked one of the intervening ladies on the forehead and had deterred all who had wanted to end the fight. So the rest had kept at bay in the safety of their rooms. Anastasia Holly Martins was a married woman with her husband and children in the same compound. It was because of her that the row had begun. The wife who began the fight suspected that her husband had something to do with Anastasia and had repeatedly warned her husband to stop being so close to somebody's wife. Meanwhile, Anastasia's husband was close to the family as well. In fact, he and the man being accused of making advances to his wife were as close as brothers. They attended the same church and assisted each other financially. Several times they had shared meals and their children too had come to be friends. Yet the suspicion of the beleaguered man's wife seemed to know no bounds. She made sure that she and Anastasia did not speak to each other. Sometimes Anastasia smiled in self-amusement when she greeted her, but she would not respond, for the very money with which she was cooking that evening must have been borrowed from her through her husband. Her own husband could call her and demand that she gives money to their friend. Since she respected them and would not display the transaction in public, she would let the man come into their living room and give the money to him quietly. This was all. And this is what his wife felt was a surreptitious relationship. Her husband, who hardly spoke, who smiled any time she reported their neighbor's wife's behavior to him. All he normally advised her to do was to ensure she did not exchange words with her. No matter how much she provoked her, she must not talk. It was her husband who schooled her on the use of words toward even the children. Words, he taught her, were powerful. Hence, God used only words to create the world. Words could ignite fire and could also smother it. It depended on every couple to decide how they wanted to live with words. If they wanted a quarrelsome life, it stemmed from the kinds of words they used on each other. He said he had advised his friend not to answer his wife's unruly tongue to avoid ending up in fighting as they always did, but he too would not listen. It all depends on the individual to create the kind of world in which he or she wants to live. Since he wants to live in a peaceful world with his wife, he does not fling words at her. What if she did? Does it take two to tango? As a civilized married couple, as a principle, they really revere the use of words between them. By the time the unruly couple had finished with each other, that day everyone had known all their bedroom secrets. That was the kind of world they chose to use words to create for themselves. On the other hand, when Anastasia's husband returned from work that evening, presenting the nice words of a card he had bought for her that day, he had told her that it was all the fault of her extreme beauty, that her neighbor was so suspicious of her. This was why women easily felt unsafe with her around their husbands. Why was she looking so tempting this evening, for instance? Why had she enslaved him so much with her beauty? It was better she stopped back now. Yet she did not move back when he approached her. Why should she, when she too wanted him so much as their friends next door, slept in separate rooms because they had used words to destroy their evening? Anastasia and her husband were soon on the way to the land of ecstatic bliss because they had used words to create a nice marriage world for themselves. Thank you, friends. We believe you have learned the lessons. God bless you.